good. You're smiling a little bit.
Yeah.
The new Texan cheeseburger and footlong coney, made with crunchy fried onion strings, flavorful chili, and perfectly melted delicious cheese. Choose between a cheeseburger and a footlong coney. It's twisted, y'all. Try one half price in the app. Only online or in the Sonic app. Add-ons extra, limit 1. Not good with other offers. And participating Sonic drive-ins for a limited time.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-777-1979. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Providers help thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou. And remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. 800-777-1979.
Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton at Big C Sports, coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond, and London, England, as well as Paris, France. Of course, we love you in Canada and Africa, the Big C tribe. But there's no one we love more than the good old boys down south. It's the land of the free and the home of the brave on a beautiful May the 18th, 2021. Round of the Deportes. Bonjour, Big C. How's it going for you good old boys down south?
Well, Charlton, we're living on the double nickel down here in the South, where a Southern native 55 years ago became the first black coach in professional sports in the NBA. Not only that, Charlton, he went on to win the championship in his rookie season as a head coach. I'm talking about none other than the great Bill Russell, probably one of the greatest basketball players of all time. Once again, I want to thank our frontline healthcare workers, our nurses, the doctors, the first responders. They're always on the list of the greatest of all time.
Always on the list of the greatest of all time. I want to say today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalades, the standard of the world. When you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you. As well as a fleet of Cadillac cars never stop arriving. Also, all around the world, just say Google or Alexa, play Big C Sports Podcast. You will hear from our sponsors. You will hear welcome to the show. I will introduce Big C as the Mystic, and he'll do his thing from 3,000 miles away. And I really do appreciate the way things have grown with Big C Sports. You can follow Big C Sports on Spotify. You can follow Big C Sports on Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, and a lot of smart TVs all over the universe. Ready to have a smart TV? Or you'll be sitting there looking at a still picture. Man, I love pausing, Big C, but it's so hot in California. Whenever I pause, I feel like fires flow out of my mouth like a dragon, Big C. We do need some moisture in California, but I will never blow fire on our Veterans Crisis Hotline. They really are experienced helping veterans and their loved ones get help. And I'm hearing so many entertainers and now sports athletes, Big C, talking about how to get help for mental health. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, it is great that other Americans are throwing out the thought about mental awareness in America, Charlton. Everybody needs some type of mental health checkup. You know, we go to the doctors for physicals, but we need to go to doctors for mental health checkups, Charlton. This is one of the things that we need as a culture. And unfortunately, many of our veterans don't get the opportunity to follow through with that, Charlton. We lose over 2 dozen a day to suicide. An horrific number that this country has not put its hands on, Charlton, to be able to stop the tide of that. Our veterans suffer every day, as Americans suffer, Charlton, but our veterans suffer even more because when they come back home, they don't have that support base usually that they always need. And that has driven many of them to suicide. We give out the National Suicide Prevention Hotline number, Charlton. But we need a more conservative effort from all Americans. Yes, people make these announcements on a daily basis, but we need that physical attention on a daily basis given to our veterans to hopefully stop this stem of suicide in America.
Very well said, Big C. We all need somebody to lean on. There was a great group that sang that back in the day. It's all fair and love and war. Call 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. 838-8255, or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net. And you can definitely get some help for our veterans and their loved ones. Also very happy to be affiliated with Valley, home of weekly TV on Dish TV, DirecTV, AT&T Uverse, TV 53, home of the San Francisco Giants and the Say Hey Kid, as well as the home run king Barry Bonds. When you reach out to them, just tell them Big C sent you. Our goal is simple: recruit 10,000 real estate agents and brokers all over this great country, helping to put people back to work just like McDonald's does it, car dealerships do it, sports teams do it, watch TV and real estate work for you. 800-772-8624. If you're looking for opportunities in real estate, go to bigcsports.pacwm.com. Most of our loans are underwritten by Rocket Mortgage, the #1 lender in the country on the wholesale side. Also expanding to the great state of Texas before the end of May. It's all fair in love and war. I also want to say thank you to Xfinity, Comcast TV, and Comcast Spotlight for presenting Big C Sports to the universe. Just like God said, let there be light. Open your cell phones and just say play Big C Sports Podcast. You will see all of our apps pop up from all over the world. And I really do appreciate the way things have grown with Big C Sports. Man, I'll tell you, sometimes habits can be a bad thing and a hard thing to break, Big C. I grew up on Yardbird, ate a lot of Yardbird growing up. My mama, when she wanted us to go out and have chicken for dinner, sometimes you just go out to the backyard and get some chickens out of that chicken coop, Big C. Wring that neck, pluck the feathers, and about 10 minutes later, there's some Yardbird in the skillet, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, fresh bird has always tasted the best other than that stuff that's been processed in the store and you don't know how long it's been there.
Yeah, you don't know how long it's been there. I kind of have a bad habit, and I might need some help. I told you I found a place that made Southern-style deep-fried chicken, and it's not like any other chicken I've ever tasted in my life. I'm not saying that I'd rather eat fried chicken than a lot of other things that makes men happy, if that makes sense to you, Big C. But I sure do love licking my fingers when I'm done, Big C.
Well, chicken is one of those delectable dishes, Charlton, that everybody tends to enjoy. Yeah. It comes in many different forms and fashion, and, you can fix it to everybody's taste.
Yeah, everybody's taste. It's funny, the lady said, "You're back again?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "You need now?" Because I said, "No, I got my fingers. It's all fair and love and war." I really love that deep fried chicken. It's Cajun style. It's not like any other chicken I've had. And I said, "Where is this stuff from?" And she said, "Louisiana." I said, "No wonder the SEC has an easy time recruiting California athletes, Big C."
Well, things are bigger and better in the South, Charlton. You don't have to worry about environmental control like you have in California.
Yeah, the funny thing, she gave me a brown paper bag instead of a black. It was a brown paper bag. It was all greasy. But it's all fair and love and war. She said it's from Louisiana. Man, I love that chicken. Big C, you know who loves chicken wings? A lot of NBA basketball players. We got some NBA playoffs tonight, Big C style. We got the play-in game, Big C. On the West, we have Memphis, and they're doing their thing with San Antonio. At the same time, in the Eastern Conference, we'll have Indiana, and we'll have Charlotte. And then tomorrow, we have the LA Lakers and the Golden State Warriors, as well as the Boston Celtics and the Washington Wizards, Big C. I really look forward to seeing a lot of things that's going on in the world of NBA. Are you excited? I know you were saying you were not really for the extra game, but are you excited now, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I mean, when you look at these play-in games, it's almost like playing a pickup game that everybody played at the park on.
Yeah.
Where, the first team to 21. And if you lost the game, Charlton, it could be 3 hours before you got a chance to get back on the court. By that time, everybody was going home.
Yeah, everybody's going home. It's all fair, love, and war. But I wanna just wish all the players nothing but success. If you're of the fortunate few that are able to play sports for a living, you're so blessed, no matter whether you're first team, second team, if you're able to get that paycheck, and you can always work at getting better, making your dreams come true. Big C, the NBA this season, when you think about the great player, my MVP, the great Steph Curry, this season certainly played at an MVP level. He always does, but now he's kind of on his own since his black Splash brother, his Klay Thompson, is on the mend. He'll be back next season, Big C. There's a fair argument that this was his best season of his 12-year career, even better than his previous 2 MVP seasons, Big C. The Warriors superstar won the scoring title by averaging a career-high 32 points per game. He shattered the Warriors' record along the way and climbed up the NBA's all-time ranks in doing so. How does that not become the MVP? It's called shenanigans, Big C. Curry answered every question that naysayers might have said that he did not deserve it. Maybe he should be on the list. But sometimes, last I checked, the guy that crosses the finish line first in the 100-meter dash or in the scoring title oftentimes are the best in the universe, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, a scoring title is a lot different from winning a championship. I mean, you can win a scoring title and never make it to the championship game.
Yeah, you can, but when you check a man's luggage at the airport, you say, what are all these gold trophies? He said, those are NBA championships. He said, what are all these basketballs? Those are three-point basket championships. He said, what is this? You're the only unanimous NBA MVP in the history of the NBA universe? And now they're trying to rob you again? He said it's all fair level war. So Curry, you make a case for Steph Curry. Anyone can, Big C, for MVP. I know his father, Dale Curry, thinks he's the MVP. It's all fair level war. He even has a brother that thinks he's the MVP. But if you like it, Big C, you don't have to do it by denigrating other players around them. That's what I love about sports. I've yet to meet an athlete that ever said, I'm the second best player on my team, football, basketball, or baseball, Big C. Have you ever seen that, Big C? Your thoughts?
Oh, yeah, I've been on teams, Charlton, where you acknowledge who's the best player on a team or even the best player that you're playing against. Professional etiquette creates that, Charlton, and it's just like LeBron James. I said maybe he was trying to get some brownie points with Curry and saying that he was the league MVP along with Kyle Kuzma going along because the Lakers have to face them.
Yeah, maybe some people can say that too, but he is on that Mount Rushmore, Big C, scoring leaders with Kareem, also Wilt Chamberlain, and Michael Jordan. That does count for something. I think it's all fair and love and war, Big C. But you think about it, though, he doesn't denigrate other players around him. They deserve better. NBA players do, even though some people want to say that guys are scrubs and all that jazz. But Steph's 40-foot bombs and routine 30-point nights would not be delivering wins if the Warriors were not the fifth-ranked defense, Big C. And I love Steph Curry's game. I mean, I really do like watching him play. But I also, even if he's MVP, I think there's something to be said about Draymond Green, because Draymond Green sets the attitude for the Warriors. Draymond Green sets the rebounding and getting off in the transition for the Warriors. Draymond Green's not trying to outscore Curry. Draymond Green is an assist guy. He's a defensive stopper, but he won't even get the mention of MVP. That's just my opinion, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, it's not always an individual award, Charlton. When you talk about the team setting up Curry, the reason why Curry has an opportunity to lead the league in scoring is because his team is number 5 in the NBA in defense. And that means that they're stopping opponents, which gives him more opportunities to score. It's not just Draymond Green playing defense, Charlton. It's the Golden Warriors playing defense. And that's the part of that game that's underrated. You want to talk about the splash of the ball going to the basket. You have to give kudos to the defense for stopping their opponent's basketballs from going to the basket. That's what makes a team. And if you were to name an MVP as a team, it would be the Warriors because of their defense.
Yeah, it's all fair level war, Big C. I remember when he went and pulled up his shirt, he was just paying homage to another former player that was doing this thing back in the day for the Golden State Warriors, Big C. I want to also, so congratulations, Steph Curry, Golden State Warriors playing defense. It's all fair and level war. I'm sure he could even shoot three-point baskets off of the top of the Bay Bridge. It's all fair and level war. But I want to take in the words hot, Big C. Hot like fire that comes out of a dragon's mouth. It's amazing that a dragon will blow fire out of his mouth, but not out of his backside, Big C. That doesn't seem right by nature, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, I'm not going to be standing behind him or in front of him.
A horse can kick you when you stand too close to a horse, but a fire-breathing dragon, I'm glad it's only going out of the front side and not the back side. Is all fair and level war, Big C. After leading the Phoenix Suns to their first playoff appearance, Big C, in 11 years, Coach Monty Williams, Big C, wasn't maybe the favorite by some media mainstream to get the coaching position, but he won the 2021 Michael H. Goldberg NBCA Coach of the Year award, and he won that today, Big C. This is a team that has not been in the playoffs in 11 years, Big C. It's a team that brought in a guy that everywhere he goes, they tend to win, and that's the great Chris Paul but Monty Williams definitely deserves the honors that he's been getting. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Monty Williams have done something that no other coach has done in NBA history, Charlton. When you think about how he's turned around the Phoenix Suns, they've gone a plus 15 the past 2 seasons. No team in NBA history has ever done that. Increased their win margin by at least 15 games, 2 consecutive seasons. Not only that, you got to recall when they were in the bubble last year that the Phoenix Suns went an 8-0 record in the bubble.
That's right.
So Monty Williams had his finger on the pulse down there in the desert. And he's got a young roster that believes in his coaching vernacular, Charlton, and they've succeeded in finishing second in the West.
Yeah, he's really doing his thing. You know what he needed, Big C? He just needed an opportunity. That's what a lot of guys, men and women, need. You just need an opportunity, somebody to say, yes, we're going to give you a chance to do your thing, and he's been definitely doing his thing, Big C. Williams is incredibly deserving of the award after the Suns finished the second best record in the Western Conference, 51-21. That's amazing, Big C, a position absolutely no one could have predicted, except for Monty Williams, and maybe even Chris Paul if you ask him in private. At the start of the season, a lot of people did not predict that, though. They thought maybe we're going to give him a chance, and we're going to have him be the preamble to some other guy that we're going to bring in, Big C. But I really appreciate what he's been doing with the Phoenix Suns. It's all fair and love and war. But when you think about it, Big C, the reason people could not predict it, because as head coach of the Suns during the 2019-20 season, a year after the team won just 19 games, Big C, how do you go from winning 19 games to 51 games in a matter of one year, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, the key, Charlton, to success in any coaching ranks is that you have to have players that believe in what you're doing. That's what makes coaches successful. Coaches will get a lot of credit. But unless you can get a group of guys that's going to buy in to your teaching tactics and believe in what you're showing them, Charlton, and the Phoenix Suns really showed that last year and also in the bubble that they trusted Monty Williams. And he also added another floor general in Chris Paul when he brought him in to give even extra leadership to that young roster, Charlton, and they all responded.
It's not about egos. It's a team, and all you need are a few good men. That's a military slogan, just a few good men, and you can change a lot of things in life. Few good women, too, if that makes sense, ladies. It's all fair in love and war. Last year, he began to change the culture of the franchise, and he coached Phoenix to a perfect 8-0 record in the Orlando bubble, as you mentioned, Big C. He's fallen just short of the play-in game, while there was positivity heading into this season for the Phoenix Suns, finishing second in the tough Western Conference. It surpassed everybody's expectations, and a lot of people didn't think they'd get there. But there's something about giving that man an opportunity and then bringing in a general like Chris Paul, who's been well-traveled, but right now he's sitting at the top of the mountain in the Western Conference, at least in the second seed of it, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, they've had a fun run, Charlton, when you think about it. And, they still have some time to play in the playoffs. They're proving their worth. And, I mean, if they play anywhere in the playoffs this year like they played in the bubble last year, they're going to be hell on the rest of the West in the NBA.
Yeah, they definitely are going to try to turn up the heat on the rest of the NBA. The Phoenix Suns is all fair and level war, Big C. I want to get down to something that you may or may not agree with. I told you I like red wine. You like that homemade moonshine. And some of that Louisiana deep fried chicken, that Yardbird, my goodness, it's worth gaining 2 or 3 pounds, Big C. I mean, that stuff was good. I still haven't washed my hands. The finger licking good, tastes so good. Colonel Sanders is not the finger licking good. It's those good old world, that girl from Louisiana. I'm still not washed my hands, Big C. I don't care. It's all fair level war. But the NBA's biggest X factor for every NBA game, when you think about the play-in tournament team, excited to talk about some NBA play-in factors. I'm excited about it, Big C. I know you are. But we start, when you think about it, let's establish a few conceptual ground rules. Just an opinion, and everybody has them nowadays, but deciding what constitutes an X factor is an exercise without consensus. Can superstars qualify, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, no, superstars cannot qualify because you're readily going to call off a superstar when you talk about a team, Charlton, but they're not always the X factor in a contest. It's those players that give you that unexpected productivity night in and night out because they're not coming, they're not in the starting lineup. They're coming off the bench, and they're sparking a team when they're behind or when they're stagnant, Charlton. They can come in and they can provide that lift for a roster, Charlton, that gets them over the top.
I remember with the great Andre Iguodala, Steve Kerr convinced him to come off the bench, and he was ended up doing phenomenal work for the Golden State Warriors when they were making their run out here on the West Coast. So when you think about it, should we immediately be defaulting to the second or third most important player of each team. We talked about the great Draymond Green for Golden State, Big C, whether it's Bradley Beal or Russell Westbrook down over in Washington. It's all fair and level war. And when you look at Brooklyn, they're loaded with so many different players. But do key absences meet the criteria, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, no, key absences don't, Charlton, because those are still players that are always in the lineup.
Yeah.
But, you know, it comes to the guy that's sitting on the bench that you don't even know his name.
Yeah.
The average fan, unless you're a basketball aficionado, does not know his name, Charlton. But when he walks into the lineup and he brings that extra spark, Charlton, and every team has had them throughout the history of basketball. You always have a 6th or 7th man on the bench that you can count on him knocking in double-digit points and getting double-digit rebounds to propel his team to victory.
So are we obligated to plug out the most crucial role player? Is that something? Because as you mentioned, we always talk about the superstar, but what about the crucial role player, Big C? Your thoughts?
The crucial role player is called your 6th man, Charlton. Those are guys who are up for the 6th Man of the Year award, an annual award that's giving out in the NBA. But when we're talking about X factors, that's the guy. I mean, you go down to any NBA bench, Charlton, and start naming these 6 guys on the bench.
Yeah.
You cannot do it. As the average fan cannot do it.
Yeah.
But guys who make the difference in championship runs.
They make a difference in championship run are the squads. How about the biggest wild card? We always talk about the wild card game in a football game, or now we talk about the wild card game in baseball, Big C. What about a wild card? Would that be something that the NBA would consider, Big C? Your thoughts?
That's what you're doing now, Charlton. That's what's going on right now, this play-in crap. This is a wild card game in the NBA. As your buddy LeBron James said, he didn't like it. They should have fired the guy. If he didn't get it, he'd be sitting at home watching tonight.
But can't you take a joke? Sometimes you got to read the West Coast jokes, Big C. You can't take everything for facts. Just like the lady asked me, did I want napkins with my fried chicken? I said, no, I got my fingers. It's all fair level work, Big C. And I want to take you to a place that can probably eat some Southern fried chicken to make themselves feel better. Don't know what's going to happen in the playoffs. But the Boston Celtics, and I know I was talking about Stevens earlier in the year, and maybe they've tuned him out, Big C. You said no, maybe they haven't tuned him out. It's all fair and level war. I know they're dealing with injuries, but everybody is. The great Kemba Walker deserves some consideration. When I think about it, despite his star profile, the forerunner is averaging, when you think about it, 13.5 points, 3.5 assists, while dropping 45.8% of his threes since exiting the league's health and safety protocols. You shoot 45.8, just making 46% from threes, Big C. That's amazing, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, that's what a superstar is supposed to do in the NBA, Charlton. This is the reason why you have those multi-million-dollar yearly contracts, because you're reliable.
Yeah, you're reliable, Big C. Protocol aside, it's all fair level work. The Charlotte Hornets, P.J. Washington, Big C, whatever the reasoning, it increases the sway of P.J. Washington. Virgo is going to use him as a cap down. When you think about it, he's a great center. A lot of people don't know his name, but against the Indiana Pacers, they may hear his name a lot more, Big C. In anyway, subsequent games, the lineups featuring Washington at the 5 have fared well for the year. They have no chances of controlling the glass, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, and that's what I mean when I tell you that people don't know these X-factor players, Charlton. You can sit there and name a superstar in the starting lineup, but you can't go 8 men down the bench and start naming players. When you look at Washington, Charlton, they play that small ball lineup just like they used to get down in Houston with Dan Antonio. They do the same thing with Washington, and that sort of hurts, you know, the Charlotte Bobcats, Charlton, when you sit there and you're going to have to play the Indianapolis Pacers with that big front line. Indianapolis will beat them up on the boards when they play small ball, and they'll just blow them out.
Well, we will see what happens. Sometime when you get stung, Big C, it changes the way you try to attack people. When I think about, I like the swag that Draymond Green brings to the Golden State Warriors basketball team. You know, Curry looks like he's always smiling, but the great Richard Pryor had a comedy skit one time. Someone broke into his house, and he had a Doberman, and the Doberman said, you can't leave. He said, you think I'm smiling, blah, 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 blah. I'm about to get off on yo, blah, 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 blah. They see the great Richard Pryor, and that's what Steph Curry is. He looks like he's smiling. He looks like he's friendly, but he's not, Big C. But there's a good old boy by the name, just to prove your point, for the Golden State Warriors. His name is Jordan Poole, Big C. He has the most part been a revelation since returning from the right ankle injury, but went absolutely nuclear over the Warriors' final drive. When you think about their final 5 games, Big C, he was dropping 21.8 points a game while knocking down 77% of his twos and 45% of his threes. I mean, that's pretty amazing for a guy that most people don't even know his name, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, and that's my point, Charlton. Every time I hear you talking about the Warriors, you talk about the Splash Brothers and Draymond Green.
Yep.
I've never heard you mention Jordan Poole's name. But you see how integral Jordan Poole is in the success of the Golden State Warriors. Not only that, they're the number 5 defensive team in the NBA. So when you talk about those X factors, those are the things that the Los Angeles Lakers are really worried about. Someone like Jordan Poole and the number 5 defensive team in the NBA. You know that Steph Curry is going to get his.
Yeah.
Draymond Green will assist. But when you have Wiggins, you have Poole, and I'm trying to remember Kelly Oubre.
Yeah.
Those players are going to make a difference in the lineup. And when you look at Poole, he can cancel out Anthony Davis.
Yeah. Well, he cannot cancel out the officiating, and that's my opinion. I mean, everybody has their own opinion, and that's definitely mine. And if I'm proven wrong, that'll be fine too. It's all fair, love, and war. But I also want to bring you to another player on another team. And again, there's some great players in the NBA basketball. If you don't like NBA basketball, you probably haven't watched it enough. That's like saying, how could you not like that Louisiana-style fried chicken? I understand how they recruit so many kids from California to go down south to play football for Alabama. They give them that paper bag, and who knows what's inside that paper bag, but it's probably more than chicken, Big C. It's all fair, love, and war. But I want
you got to worry about now those kids out there in California, Charlton,
yeah.
if they put those casino chips
That's right.
in the paper bag, they're going to weigh so much that they're going to fall through.
Yeah. Oh, they try to get on an airplane with paper bag, and all the money comes falling to the bottom. It's all fair, love, and war. But Indiana, where they drink milk when you win the Indianapolis 500, Big C, the Indiana Pacers. Good old boy by the name of Dirk McDevitt. His range in cutting both in efficiency and volume will be the crucial when you think about it if the Pacers want to beat up on the Hornets. With their pocket-sized combinations, McDermott's the real deal. He's the most dangerous outlet. When you think about it, he sees green more than Justin Holiday, Big C, and he's shown the ability to attack from open spaces. This good old boy is shooting 64% on all twos and 52% on drives. They just got to drive to the basket, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, McDermott is an outstanding, underrated player, Charlton, and he's a highlight reel waiting to happen coming off the bench. I mean, he's perpetual motion on the court. When you get a chance to see him, you're going to memorize his name. You're going to stop talking about the other big names in Indiana, Charlton,
yeah.
And you're going to start talking about McDermott. Because when you watch the guy, he plays defense. He harasses people. But he is also an assassin with the basketball.
Yep. No, it's good, Big C. I love that fundamental style of basketball that doesn't maybe make the highlight reels, but it does add up on the scoreboard, Big C. The scoreboard keeps counting. And speaking of the scoreboard, man, it's hot. There's a good old boy that sang a song, "It's getting hot in here. It's getting hot in here." But don't take off your clothes unless you're in private, Big C. I mean, it's so hot in California. I feel like just going and jumping in the ocean is all fair and love and war. The Los Angeles Lakers, the great Dennis Schroeder, Big C, he's the player most suited to put pressure on set defenses and run the two-man game with Davis as long as Davis doesn't pull a hamstring or get hurt, Big C. If that's not enough to sell you on as being the Lakers' third most important player, the reality, in my opinion, is he's having to soak up defenses. When you think about the reps against Steph Curry, it should be him, and he'll probably get some help, but he's a dominant player, Big C. Your thoughts?
You know, he's been an excellent addition to the Los Angeles Lakers, Charlton, because everybody talks about the big two out there. But Dennis Schroeder's been an unsung NBA star in his time in Atlanta and in Oklahoma City. He's made an impact with both of those organizations, and now he's come to the Lakers and helped them get back to the playoffs.
Yeah, he's helping them get back to the playoffs, and that's where they want to stay. I love what we're seeing in basketball. It's almost amazing that we have where you have so many superstars. This shows you how balanced the league is. When people say, oh, the NBA is just a league of stars, and that's not true. You got some superstars that are playing in play-in games, Big C. You got Steph Curry, a superstar, playing in the play-in game. The great LeBron James, a superstar. Anthony Davis playing in a play-in game. You got Russell Westbrook, Bradley Beal playing in play-in games. And when you think about it, the NBA is in great business. I really love it. We're going to take what's called the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. When we come back, I want to go down south to where they have real fresh fried chicken, that real yard-bird, Big C. In the words of the great Arnold Schwarzenegger, if he had some of that southern fried chicken, you know, Arnold Schwarzenegger would say, I'll be back. we are back from the Big C pause, also known as the Big C Timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the #1 podcast network in the universe, iHeartRadio Podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Apple Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Google Podcasts. There's so many apps, and I really do appreciate the way things have grown with Big C Sports. I also want to say thank you to Xfinity Comcast TV and Comcast Spotlight for presenting Big C Sports to the universe. Just like God said in Genesis 1:3, let there be light. Open your cell phones and say play Big C Sports Podcast. You'll see all of our apps pop up from all over the world. You know, when I talk about the Terminator, the great Arnold Schwarzenegger, I love that line in the movie, I'll be back. If he ever were to have Terminator Part 19, you know they made so many of them, Big C, maybe part number 35. If he goes down to that Southern fried food restaurant that has that Cajun-style chicken, I'm sure they'll add that to Terminator number 35. I'll be back. It's all fair in love and war. Speaking of being back, the Memphis Grizzlies, Big C, the great Jaron Jackson Jr., has just 11 games under his belt, Big C, after missing most of the year with a left knee injury. So he deserves all the leeway in the world. Everybody gets injured. Over the long term, Big C, it doesn't make much sense to worry about his 28% clip from three. Opponents are shooting 55% against Jackson at the rim. He has to do a lot better, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, you know, he's been hurt by that bad knee, Charlton, but he can catch fire. He can be lightning in a bottle. And if Jackson can get hot along with Jay Morant, they can cause headaches.
Yeah, they can cause headaches. And I want to just add on, there are sometimes when people will talk about a player taking some time off, you know, rest management, and they always say, well, they're robbing me. I'm a paying fan, and I need to see the guys come out and perform. I didn't pay for the guys to come off the bench. But you notice when someone's playing injured, sometimes people don't even say how tough they are by toughing it out. But if the guy get hurt, they'll say, I can't believe he's not playing. I paid money to see guys play. I'm wishing Jackson nothing but the best, Big C. I want to take it down to another place where I'm sure they have some good deep fried chicken, Texas style, Big C, down in San Antonio, where I hear there's a lot of good food on the Riverwalk, Big C. I'm sure you sample. Do you sample and swim in the Riverwalk, Big C, in Texas?
Well, the greatest thing about the Riverwalk down in San Antonio, Charlton, is they have so many restaurants that serve food platter style.
Yeah.
And you get a combination on a plate that's like a buffet in your lap.
Yeah, like a buffet in your lap, and if you don't tip, that buffet will be thrown in your lap. It's all fair in love and war. San Antonio's bench is forever important. The great Popovich, Big C, usually because you think about it, it's a strength that people can't really argue about. That's not exactly the case now. The Spurs, the second stingers, when you think about a Big C, they're getting outscored by 2.8 points per 100 possessions. Since the trade deadline, that's the 7th worst mark in the league, Big C. Your thoughts?
And this has not been a marquee season for San Antonio with Popovich, Charlton. They've always been defensive stalwarts, but it showed to be their weakness this season.
Yeah, you know, and when you think about Pop as a man that's mainstream Caucasian man, could go by and just shut his mouth and make his millions and win his championships. But when I heard the great Tim Duncan, Big C, his induction into the NBA Hall of Fame, and he told a story about Pop. Pop doesn't really like to talk much about himself, so that's why it's sometimes laconic when people ask him a question. But the great Tim Duncan, and maybe a lot of guys do this, but he said that Coach Pop, when he recruited him, that he actually went to the islands and met with his family and talked to his father. And he said that's unusual, but he didn't know that at the time how special the Coach Pop is, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, you don't get to know about somebody until you get to know them, Charlton. They had a long-standing relationship for some 20 years in the NBA, and they still have that great kinship.
Yeah, I really appreciate men, especially Caucasian men, who speak out about injustice when they could just shut up and say nothing. They could just shut up and dribble. They can say, oh, no, that's somebody else's problem. Let's just deal with it some other time. I'm just here to coach basketball. And I appreciate a man just being man enough, or even woman enough, if that applies, to just do the right thing. It's not that hard to do the right thing. Dr. King told us that a long time ago. I want to bring you to the Washington Wizards. My goodness. This backcourt combination, Big C, the great Bradley Beal, you got a hamstring issue. Everybody has pain at some time. The great Russell Westbrook. But Beal returned to the Wizards for the final tilt of the regular season after missing 3 games, Big C. They beat the Hornets, but he was visibly laboring through his hamstring strain, and to that end, the injury caused an 8 of 27 clip is unknowable. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you know, they're going to be playing the Celtics in the first round, Dalton. And this is a team that Bradley Beal has been a home with. You think about Bradley Beal, Dalton, he holds the record for scoring the most points against the Celtics during the regular season. He's the only player in NBA history to average over 41 points a game against the Celtics during the regular season.
Yeah.
And the only other player to get close to that was Michael Jordan.
Isn't that something? I tell you, it's amazing how, as great as Michael Jordan was as an athlete, Big C, as a player, and now being able to talk to young people and get them in a position. He's running a team now in Charlotte, Big C. I mean, he's had a lot of his dreams come true. Wish him nothing but the best, Big C. But I want to just ask you, as we talk about the state of sports, the state of the NBA, state of NFL football, I know you can't please everybody with everything. But when I look at what's going on with our great league called the NBA, the National Basketball Association, we gave it a home run when they played down in the bubble, Big C. They've done such a smooth transition, even though some players have had a hitch in their giddy up. How would you rate them? I know you gave them a 10 in the bubble. How would you rate them now, just pulling off a season where maybe a lot of people thought it was too soon, Big C, your thoughts?
Well, I don't give this season a 10, Charlton. This season's been more like a yo-yo, up and down. I mean, we've seen teams play. We've seen teams become explosive. We've seen some teams make the playoffs that had not been there in some time, Dalton, which has been great for the league.
Yeah.
But I think just overall, as far as what the league has been exposed to and what it's done, I think we got too much NBA in too much of a condensed time.
Yeah, in a condensed time, because players need that healing time. They all need time to heal. And also, I just wish them all the best. Hopefully, everyone that wins their playoff can get that Big C burger. It is a tasty burger, and it comes with exotic meats. And my goodness, maybe it needs to also come with some southern seasoning. I don't know what kind of season they put on that meat. I hope it's legal. You think they put something illegal to make it taste that good, Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, that's all we eat down here in Southern Fried Chicken. You have to understand that. So whatever you guys get out there on the West Coast is not even close to what we get here in the South.
Yeah.
You can buy that.
Yeah, I think if you're saying it might be watered down, I might have a problem with that, but it's good enough. I think I'm addicted to the Southern style fried chicken. It's all fair in love and war. Big C, I want to touch on something that you gotta, in my opinion, I want to think about our experts. Big C names the 2021 NBA regular season award winners, and the MVP is unanimous. And again, everybody has their own opinion about what unanimous is, Big C, because if it's unanimous, it can come only from one person, because other people can be swayed. It's all fair in love and war. Sam Jackson swayed somebody in Pulp Fiction when he held that gun to that man's head and said, "Did I get your attention? It's all fair. Did I get your attention?" I hope that's not going in and having Sam Jackson trying to get people to sway them for voting for the MVP. But Big C's thoughts, LeBron James said the great Golden State Warriors Steph Curry is the MVP of the 2020-21 season. Perhaps James was just using a little gentleman sportsmanship, Big C, ahead of the Lakers playing game against Golden State. Regardless, Curry is a legitimate MVP. I think for anyone that judges with their own two eyes, Steph Curry is definitely the MVP, Big C. And when you think about it, LeBron James has been an MVP. I know you said he's only been there 4 times, could have had more. And that's the case for a lot of guys that could have had more. So whether you think he's playing or not, that's still someone's unanimous thought when you think about it. Curry is legit. He's a great candidate for basketball on and off the court. But will Curry win the award, Big C? Your thoughts?
No, he's not going to win the award, Charlton. I mean, it's great father. It's great to have conversation. It's great to have intrigue and controversy. But at the end of the day, Charlton, Djokovic will walk away with the NBA MVP.
Well, it's all fair in love and war, and it's just like The Bachelor. How does one man get to kiss 50 different women, and they all say they're in love with him, and he loves all 50 women? At the end of the day, he picks one. So that means he had a unanimous pick that he picked one, but he kissed all 50. So how can it be unanimous? It's all fair in love and war. It's just an opinion, Big C. When you think about the Joker, taking number 41 in the second round of the 2014 NBA draft, Big C, could he become the lowest draft pick to ever win the NBA MVP, Big C? Your thoughts?
He is going to do that, Charlton. I mean, he may not be the fanfare of everybody within the media, Charlton, but he's been the most dominant and consistent player all year long. Yes, you've had splash plays from other players throughout the season, Charlton, that will finish in the top 5.
Yeah.
But in the end, there will be only one number 1, and that will be Nikolai Jokic.
Big C, and sometimes people are wrong. I remember, for Hollywood's sake, the actor, the great Denzel Washington. I think he's been such a phenomenal actor, but I would still say, because of my historical perspective, I know he did the thing in Glory. I know he did the thing in Training Day, which I thought he should not have gotten an award for Training Day. If anything, he could have gotten an award for He Got Game. But his best work, in my opinion, Big C, is the Book of Eli was good for the biblical perspective. But the great Denzel Washington, he got robbed, Big C. And the whole universe, they saw it happen with their own 2 eyes. When he played Malcolm X, produced by the great Spike Lee, the great Denzel Washington, his portrayal of Malcolm X was so gripping. Even from the opening of the movie, when Denzel Washington was narrating the movie, and Spike Lee had the American flag, and it had all the garbage that's happened to black Americans, and Denzel pulled it off so well, Big C. It was phenomenal. Would you believe he got robbed in Hollywood, Big C? Your thoughts?
Did you ever see the movie John Q?
Yeah, I saw that too. That's good.
Take some time. That's the best movie he ever did, because it's about the emotional love of a son and a father, Charlton, and there's nothing greater than that.
Yeah, well, we know he's won so many accolades, whether Hollywood accepted it or not. And so when they give that Oscar to someone, it's a unanimous vote. And sometimes unanimous votes are garbage, because sometimes the people voting don't make any sense. It's all fair and love and war. But I do want to ask...
As you said earlier, you hated that players... You love when players don't berate other players.
Yep.
I mean, you've been berating Jokic for the last 2 weeks and saying he's not worthy of being an NBA player.
No, I'm not. No, that's why you get me wrong. I can speak for myself, Big C. I don't berate any player, but he's not the best player, and that's my unanimous opinion. It's just like the people can say Denzel Washington did not deserve an award for Malcolm X. That's their opinion, but I think their opinion was wrong. But it doesn't make it less valid. It's just wrong in my opinion. And Joker may get the award, just like Denzel got robbed. Maybe Steph Curry will get robbed. It doesn't mean they're not the best, and that's my opinion. It's all fair and love and war. But I do want to ask you, what about the Rookie of the Year? Another kid out of California, played for Charlotte. Michael Jordan picked him. The great LaMelo Ball. I saw him play at high school with the Ball brothers. And the Minnesota's Anthony Edwards. But I want to go back to LaMelo Ball, because you talked about the movie with Spike, with the Denzel Washington, John Q, about the love of a father and his son, Big C. And LaMelo Ball, people can love or hate LaMelo Ball or his father. When his father was stomping for his children, maybe he was too honest. Maybe he should have put on that fake phony smile that a lot of people want to see you have. Maybe he should have just said, I hope for the best, and maybe my kids will get a fair chance in life. But he was stomping for his kids. In the mainstream, they tried to destroy a black man because he was saying how much love he had for his son, and his son deserved to be there. He was doing the Drew Boudini Brown, Big C, that he did with Ali, and people hated him for it. But he got 2 kids playing in the NBA, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, you should look at the background of Anthony Edwards, the number 1 overall draft pick last year in the NBA, and what he had to go through from a family perspective. This is a young man that at the age of 15 and 16, Charlton, he lost his mother and his grandmother to breast cancer.
Wow.
And yet he had to become a man of his own, Charlton, and he had a younger sibling. And he was raised by his aunt, and he went on and attended the University of Georgia for 1 year and became the number 1 draft pick in the NBA. So when you want to talk about a young man who's fighting through adversity and all the hardships it takes to become a professional athlete and live out your dreams through devastation and hardship, that's Anthony Edwards. And he also deserves to be Rookie of the Year in the NBA this year.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who deserve to be given the awards. Even Christ, the Last Supper, had more than one person. Jesus didn't sit at the table by himself and eat that southern fried chicken, Big C, over in Africa, Big C. He shared it. Loaves and fishes. It's all fair and love and war. Both of those guys deserve some accomplishments, Big C. It's all fair and love and war. How about in Utah, the Wasatch Mountains backdrop, Big C, the great Rudy Gobert, the Utah Jazz? I mean, he's been doing his thing. Remember when COVID showed up last year, he was touching on everybody's microphone because he didn't know any better. He was just trying to be flippant, Big C, and it was a lot more serious than he understood. But he came back with all the criticism and led the Utah Jazz to the number 1 seed in the Western Conference. Or would it be Philadelphia, great Big Ben Simmons, for Defensive Player of the Year. He's been doing his thing. Some people say they can't coexist when he has the great Joel Embiid, Big C. I think they can coexist, and both of those players deserve some great accolades, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, I don't think anybody understood the severity of COVID-19 at the time.
That's right.
Gobert was touching the mics, and I think all the rhetoric that he got was unwarranted because no one was intelligent enough to know what COVID-19 was in the world at that time because we were being lied to by the administration and your best friend, Donald Trump.
He's not
but
my
Rudy
best friend.
Gobert deserves to be the best defensive player in the NBA. I mean, undoubtedly, Charlton, when you got a guy who led the league in block shots, you got a guy who led the league in rebounds, and also defensive efficiency. That's Rudy Gobert. Hands down, he's the best defensive player in the NBA.
Yeah, hands down, the best defensive player in the NBA. And, of course, he didn't know how severe it was with the microphone because maybe he believed somebody that said, oh, it'll just go away by Easter. It'll just go away by Easter. Because some people lied, and he still got 70-plus million people to vote for him when you constantly lie. But Rudy Gobert got scolded, and he wasn't trying to lie. He just didn't know any better. That's all fair and level war, Big C. But I want to bring it to the apple. I know there's no way, the great Jackie Gleason, there's no way you could have come from Malone. When you think about apples and deep-fried apples, maybe the New York people can go down south to the southern states and have some of that deep-fried chicken and stop saying welcome to the Big Apple and say welcome to the Big Chicken. It's all fair, level war, Big C. This player is amazing. New York's the biggest stage in the United States, of course. Everything is exemplified and it's more magnified in New York. It seems that New York Julius Randle, I want to say the great Julius Randle, Big C, is the easy choice for the NBA's most improved player, and that's my unanimous pick, even though maybe everyone doesn't agree, Big C. Your thoughts?
Oh, he is the easy choice, Charlton, for the most improved player. When you think about what Julius Randle has done after being cast off from New Orleans, Charlton, because they felt they had a new young superstar, Julius Randle said, I'm a little better than what you think I am. He went to the Big Apple, to the big stage, Charlton. And he should even be in the MVP consideration when you think about I would think that he would end up in the top 6 in the voting in that category when you look at this phenomenal year that he has had. 27 points a game, 8 rebounds a game, Charlton, 7.5 assists. That guy right there has been the straw that stirred the drink on Madison Avenue in New York.
Yep, and be careful when somebody's stirring your drink in New York. Make sure you have it with a cap on it and stir your own drink. Sam Darnold understands. He got mononucleosis because somebody was stirring his drink. Big C, do you let someone in New York stir your drink or do you stir your own, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, he was one of those naive boys from California.
Yeah, don't let that man-eater stir your drink. It's all fair and level war. Sam Darnold's all fair and level war. Big C, Coach of the Year. Is it so easy? Maybe. Unanimous? No. Monty Williams? Maybe. Or Tom Thibodeau? Maybe, Big C. Both of them could deserve to split that award, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, they do. When you look at the year that Thibodeau had in New York, Charlton, getting the Knicks into the playoffs for the first time in a decade, but Monty Williams, Charlton, setting an NBA record back-to-back seasons, increasing his team win total by more than 15 games, Charlton, the first time in NBA history that was done. He's by far and away Coach of the Year in the NBA.
And I would also agree, Monty Williams, just because they're the number 2 seed in the very tough Western Conference, and he's a guy that if you look at the profile of NBA coaches, oftentimes he's second consideration, if that makes sense to you, Big C. The 6th man of the year, I mean the greatest 6th man of the year ever may have been the great Andre Iguodala, just my opinion. That's my unanimous thought, but other people have their own thought, Big C. The 6th man of the year, I want to get Big C's thoughts. It presents a couple of different options. You ever hear about a guy by the name of Jordan Clarkson, Big C? Your thoughts?
Jordan Clarkson is an outstanding player, Charlton. When you think about his productivity on the season, he's going to walk home with this award this year, Charlton. He's gotten his team in the playoffs in Utah. When you look at them being the best team in the West, Jordan Clarkson was an integral part of that, Charlton.
Yeah, I love what we're seeing in all of the talk of the world of NBA basketball. I wish that everybody nothing but the best. Maybe have a healthy and safety playoff playing games, and may everyone enjoy the Big C burger. It's a tasty burger, and it comes with exotic meats. Big C, I want to bring it to something else that's also very tasty. The NFL is very tasty, and I know you can't please everybody. That's why you and I go back and forth. I really do believe that if you look at Pac-12 football and versus SEC football, I really cannot wait. People talk about they can't wait for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and they can't wait for the New England Patriots game. I can't wait until LSU brings that Tiger down to the Rose Bowl and gets beaten by the UCLA Bruins. And I can't wait to hear your excuses about, well, you guys have the officials on your side, or whatever excuse you guys are going to come up with. I really can't wait to. Chip Kelly's going to have a great team this year at UCLA. But I want to run to the NFL. 2 years ago, and maybe the LSU Tigers will bring some of those Southern Fried Chickens out for the Bruins. Don't eat their food. Bring your own food. Software level war. Back to the NFL Big C. 2 years ago, the 14-2 Baltimore Ravens, they posted the best record in the National Football League, largely because of quarterback Superman Lamar Jackson. He exploded into superstardom. In just his second professional season out of Louisville, Big C, he not only broke the NFL record for rushing yards in a season by a quarterback with 1,206 yards, but also he led the league in touchdown passes with 36. And this is a guy that some people question if he can throw the ball. It depends on who your receivers are, Big C. 36 touchdowns, 3,127 yards, 113.3 passer rating. And this is a guy that 30 years ago would have been moved to defensive back, Big C, just like Tony Dungy was moved to defensive back, Big C. A lot of guys were moved to defensive back. But he's an amazing player. The Ravens at 11-5 made the playoffs again last year. But both Jackson and the team took a step backward throwing the ball and fielding the worst passing offense in the NFL. His arm hasn't changed, but they got to get guys to catch the ball on the other end too, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, they basically had the same receiving corps that they had in his MVP season.
They still got to catch it.
The quarterback took a step back. The receivers were still running down the field, but his passing efficiency fell off of the cliff.
I feel like there are people in San Francisco saying the same thing about Jimmy Garoppolo. And that's why they took a quarterback in the first round. Had he connected in the end zone in the fourth quarter, maybe they would have beaten the Chiefs. Who knows? Knowing Patrick Mahomes, they would have come back and won anyway. But he's the same guy that had success, but people are saying he's not good enough. Maybe he was overpaid, but he's definitely, as you mentioned so many times, the 49ers have a winning record with him. I want to touch on a player that can be unanimous, and he don't need Sam Jackson in the room to call touchdown Patrick Mahomes unanimous anything, Big C, because he really is an amazing player. Patrick Mahomes, touchdown Patrick Mahomes of the Kansas City Chiefs, and Lamar Jackson of the Baltimore Ravens, Big C, two dynamic players. And when you think about it, both quarterbacks, they've won NFL MVP award, Big C. Both quarterbacks also have 2 career playoff losses, Big C. Your thoughts?
Yes, they do have 2 playoff losses, but Lamar Jackson, when you look at him, Jonathan, those are the only 2 playoff games that he has played in, and he has lost both of them. He has not been able to get past that, Jonathan. When you look at Patrick Mahomes and his 2 playoff losses, he was robbed in one of them by the New England Patriots, and they went on to win the Super Bowl, Jonathan. And the other one was a Super Bowl loss. So when you talk about success between those two out of the last 3 former MVPs in the league, Jonathan, it's hard to draw a parallel between.
Yeah, and they're great. There's so many. For anyone to be able to make an NFL roster, it's one thing to say that somebody's good or bad. They're all good, Big C. Just like all those chicken wings. I didn't know which one was going to be the best. They all taste good to me. The AFC 2021 playoff quarterbacks. I want to get your thoughts, Big C. Touchdown Patrick Mahomes. You have touchdown Phillip Rivers, who retired, but still got a lot of love in him. But he wanted to coach high school football, I guess. Big Ben Roethlisberger, 3 Super Bowls behind him, Big C. And then you have the great Josh Allen out of Fireball, California. You have touchdown Baker Mayfield, touchdown and Superman Lamar Jackson, and then a man that's maybe not as much respected as some of the other players. You have touchdown Ryan Tannehill, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when you look at all those quarterbacks, and they were all excellent quarterbacks getting their teams into the playoffs, Charlton, only one of those quarterbacks has never won a playoff game, and that's Lamar Jackson. All those other quarterbacks have been able to propel their teams to victory in the playoffs at some point in their career, Charlton. Lamar Jackson, that is the one hurdle that he has not been able to get over yet.
Yeah, well, last I checked, they have I think it's 11-on-11, but I might be wrong. And sometimes when you win, you get all the credit. When you lose, you get all the blame. But that's the way of the world, Big C, and that's the way of sometimes the sports universe is all fair and level. Where I just wish everybody the best. Getting to anything, winning anything is difficult, Big C. No one gives you a chance to just go out there. And when you played D-line, you were up there the sack leader when you were playing Big C, but it was never just you out there by yourself. You had a lot of other guys putting pressure on offensive linemen, Big C, your thoughts?
Well, generally, Charlton, as a defensive lineman, when you beat somebody on the edge, you beat them one-on-one. And that tackle, you're leaving him out on an island. But it's the same way as that you praise a quarterback for the success that he has, Charlton. You also have to sit there and scrutinize him when he's not having that success.
Yeah.
You give him all the credit when he's winning an MVP award. It's not like it's 11 guys on the field. It's just one guy winning that MVP award.
Yeah.
But when you lose that playoff game, it's 11 men out on the field losing together, not 11 guys, not the one guy that won the MVP not being able to get his team over hurdles.
Yeah.
But you have to look at his completion ratio, Charlton, in the postseason. It
Yeah.
is abysmal. It is very paltry. And if it was based on that, Charlton, they would take the MVP trophy away from him, but it's given to him for regular season play. But if you're going to name somebody being the best and a Superman, then he has to take the blame when his team is not being competitive and lose.
Yeah, well, Superman has kryptonite sometimes. LeBron James, the best basketball player, in my opinion, last 15 years, and hasn't won every time he's been in a championship. It's not always one person's fault. But I do want to bring up something that's so important because it takes teamwork, makes the dream work, Big C. This is from Declaration of Independence. In 1776, it's about Black history, Big C. The passage by Thomas Jefferson condemning the slave trade, which you believe is removed from the Declaration of Independence due to pressure from southern colonies, Big C. When you think about that, he wanted to rule the slave trade as something he would condemn. But he backpedaled because he got pressure from those southern states, Big C. And that's a shame that we still deal with that garbage today, Big C. Your thoughts?
How many of the slaves that Thomas Jefferson released from his Monticello, estate, Charlton? So if he backtracks based on the southern states, he was one of the southern states.
Big C, that is very well said. He wasn't complaining about all the free love that he could get from those black women. He wasn't complaining about all the free love and all the babies that he made from those black women. And if that act went on today, people would say, how dare that we honor him as a man? If you think, everybody has their own opinion. People talk, that's revisionist history and that's cancel culture. Let a man do what Thomas Jefferson did to any of your wives out there and say he's a great man. It's all fair and love and war. No one's great when they do that type of garbage. It's all fair and love and war, Big C. We have the NHL, as I know you love to skate around on ice, Big C. Tuesday's first round game, the New York Islanders at the Pittsburgh Penguins, 7:30 p.m. East Coast time, and the Islanders lead by 1-0. But it's going to come second fiddle to the New York Knicks being in the playoffs, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, everybody in New York, Charlton, is a great fanfare. They're not fair weather like you're going to get out there on the West Coast. If a team is not winning, Charlton, then we don't show up. You don't get, empty houses in New York. The Islanders have great fans just like the Knicks have great fans. And they're very knowledgeable about their professional teams, Charlton.
Yeah, they may be knowledgeable, but I would still say if you're a New Yorker and you got a chance to go to a hockey game or a playoff game when the Knicks are in town, they're both playoffs, Big C. I'm sure the Madison Square Garden will have a lot more people wanting to watch the New York Knicks play as opposed to the Islanders. But it's all fair and level war. I wish everybody nothing but the best.
Well, one's out on Long Island and one's in New York City. That's like saying I'm going to a game in Oakland or I'm going to a game in Los Angeles.
Yeah, but if you had a choice, would you go see the hockey game or would you go see the Knicks in the playoffs, Big C? Your thoughts?
That's the same thing, like I said, if you had a choice to see a game in Los Angeles or a game in Oakland, and if they weren't playing each other, which one are you going to go to?
I would go see the team that I want to see. For me, it's Golden State. I know you would choose the Knicks.
That's the same thing that those hockey and basketball
No, I'm talking about you.
You got to understand, everybody doesn't love the NBA. Everybody doesn't love the NHL. You got people that have been watching the NHL longer than the NBA has ever been in existence. These people are very knowledgeable sports fans. And so they're going to believe in the Islanders win or lose.
No, you missed my question. I was saying if you got a free pass to go to see a Knicks game or an Islanders game, they're both in the playoffs. Which one would Big C go, Big C? Your thoughts?
Which one do Big C go to?
Yeah.
The closest one.
Yeah, okay. Well, see, now you're playing dodgeball. It's all fair and level war. Dodgeball is best played when you don't have a skin in the game. Tonight's WNBA schedule, Minnesota at New York. Phoenix is playing their game also. They have game at Washington. I look forward to NBA, WNBA basketball. The women are doing their thing. The season just started. There's a lot of good action, but I kind of feel, not that I feel bad for anybody getting the paychecks, Phoenix at Washington, Las Vegas at Seattle, but they're starting WNBA in the heart, really, you could say, maybe of baseball, but definitely in the heart of the NBA basketball playoffs, Big C. Also, the NHL hockey playoffs, Big C. It's a tough start for WNBA, but there's still a lot of good action to watch, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, this is the normal time of the year that the WNBA always starts at the end of the NBA and hockey regular season, Charlton, for the women to kick off their season. And they're going to be very competitive. I mean, the NBA and hockey will be over soon, and the WNBA will only be halfway through their season.
Yep.
And they'll take their run at it against baseball.
They will definitely take their run at it against baseball, and I know a lot of people are enjoying baseball. Tonight, scheduled Tuesday, May 18th, San Francisco at Cincinnati, Tampa Bay at Baltimore. You have the Miami Marlins at Philadelphia, the New York Mets at the Atlanta Braves, Boston at the Toronto, the Blue Jays, Big C. I love those birds. I hope I'm not eating Blue Jay bird, but it is tasting good, Big C. Washington at the Chicago Cubs. Your friend Tony La Russa and the Chicago White Sox at the Minnesota Twins. Pittsburgh Pirates at St. Louis. The New York Yankees are at Texas. Make sure you bring your own Gatorade down in Texas. Milwaukee at Kansas City. Cleveland at the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. Houston is at the Oakland A's. There's a lot of flashbulbs going off in the Coliseum. The Arizona Diamondbacks at the defending world champion LA Dodgers. Colorado Rockies at the San Diego Padres. And Detroit, Motown, is going to get some fresh fish tonight there in Seattle. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you know, the Tigers can swing, Charlton, and fish and cats love fish.
It's all fair and level war. I wish them all the best. I mean, everybody playing in whatever playoff game, whether it's NHL or NBA, I hope that everybody stay healthy. WNBA keeps swinging, and swinging for, not swinging for the fence, but shooting for the threes. A lot of the women are shooting threes too. It's all fair and level war. Big C, I'm addicted to the Southern Fried Chicken. I understand the Pac-12 hired a guy from the gaming industry. To me, that doesn't make any sense, but they did it anyway, and I think probably you'll find some people getting in trouble if they don't redo what they did. Big C, back in the day, there's a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man, and he would always tell Ali, float like a butterfly and sting like a bee. Rumble, young man, rumble. With all you've got to use, how can you lose? Big C, what are you looking forward to in this sports universe?
Well, Charlton, as I open the show, I want to end the show. Congratulations to Bill Russell on your 55th anniversary of becoming the first black coach in American sports history, Charlton, and also the first black coach to win a championship on the inaugural day of the play-in season of the NBA playoffs. So congratulations to Bill Russell. And once again, I want to thank our frontline healthcare workers, our nurses, doctors, first responders. You're always playing it safe and keeping everybody healthy.
Always playing it safe, always keeping everybody healthy when you rise and shine. You can do anything when you rise and shine. You can rise and shine every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide when you follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. As my mom always says, that's never, ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. If you know any man, woman, or child going through that garbage, pick up the phone and ask for help, because no man, woman, or child should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports Show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.